What inspired you to start Reverse Resources, and how has your vision evolved since the company's founding?
Mm-hmm. So in the very beginning, I was just doing my master's thesis in Estonia when I was studying economics, and I got curious why some companies put sustainability into their core strategy, business strategy, while others do sustainability just for a marketing campaign. And I was kind of, I wanted to understand the economics of sustainability better. And while doing my master's thesis, Estonia didn't have many sustainable companies. It was in 2012 that I started working on this. And I ended up working with an upcycling fashion designer who was using textile fabrics as feedstock for her capsule collections. And it was part with her team. She was just doing a documentary movie, and with her team, she went to Bangladesh. And I ended up visiting Bangladesh quite accidentally back then. And my first trip to Bangladesh was just right after Rana Plaza collapse. I was there and I was just shocked how much waste there is. And I then didn't anymore agree that one designer can, just by using more leftover fabrics in her designs, can solve the waste problem. So the economist in me started to ask why or how can we motivate fast fashion companies look at textile waste as a resource, and how to create the economics around it so that the waste becomes a better resource than virgin material. And that's what was the inspiration of it. And the amount of cotton waste in Bangladesh was just an interesting case of like how this can be used in recycling. In the very beginning, Reverse Resources was born with the idea of creating a marketplace for fabrics so that upcycling designers can find fabric, access to dead stock fabric. But then quite quickly, we understood that dead stock fabric actually does have a market. There are smaller producers who are using it and can use it. But cutting scraps and recycling story is a much more difficult case. And that's where we also getting the Global Change Award from H&M Foundation helped a lot in the beginning. Otherwise, I couldn't find funding or support to the whole idea. But then the collaboration started with H&M, and that again helped us validate the early ideas and get access to factories. And basically one thing led to the other. And that's kind of where we stumbled into the issue of cutting waste and recycling, and how we can actually use digital approach to create a much better data movement around waste, the availability of it, how much there is, which type of waste, and how to connect that with recyclers.
Okay, thank you for sharing us your inspiring journey. So my next question to you, what are the biggest systematic barriers currently preventing the fashion industry from adopting circular practices at scale?
The biggest challenge is, I think, is the systemic complexity of this whole problem. There is, the fashion industry is so globally spread. The supply chain is all over the place. And already from our school system, we are taught to learn in silos. We learn chemistry and mathematics and physics separately. So it's so common that people think topic by topic, and we think in silos. We think in organization by organization, or like piece by piece, and we try to simplify everything that way. But when we think about textile industry and the global system of it, the systemic approach and systemic viewpoint is not so easy to understand. But when we think about circular economy, we need to think about the textile fiber flowing through the economy over and over again. And if we don't connect the pieces into a system of circulation, then it's, instead of becoming circular, we end up doing spiraling down economy, where it goes to downcycling or incineration, and it goes lost. So I would say that the biggest challenge is explaining the bigger system and the vision to the industry, because if we don't align with the goal itself, then everybody takes action that is separate and, again, working in silos, and it doesn't come together as the result that we need. And I can bring an example. We have been working on the issue of like the first mile problem, how to get waste segregated at the cutting table, make the waste visible to the brands about and recyclers, how by composition and by color, so that we can find the best match for the waste recycling. But at the same time, if there isn't enough orders coming from the brands, or that brands are only ordering recycling for white cotton, then the demand problem doesn't help to solve the waste supply issue, or like the supply and demand don't come together as a balanced system. And needing to work with so many different elements of that complex system is the challenge. But at the same time, that's why reverse resources has been successful, is that we have managed to create small steps to go through that complexity and make it simple. But it's almost like this chicken and egg problem all the time. Like, what comes first, supply or demand? Or like when you take the whole circular system, then you have to kind of manage the whole system as a chicken and egg issue. And yeah, I think the complexity is the challenge, but also the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, we should work together and need a balanced system, what I understand. Okay. So the next question is, can you share a concrete example where reverse resources helped a brand or manufacturer significantly improve its circular performance?
We work today with 18 of the largest fashion corporations. H&M was the first partner we had, but today we work with Lacoste, Lululemon, Marks and Spencer, you name it. Like, there is a long list of large brands, and the stories or the challenge they have is quite similar. So I can't mention one brand, so I can talk about on behalf of all the brands, because we are solving a problem for the fast fashion industry in general. So brands typically have the question from two angles. One is more responsive to the regulatory changes, to understand that when there is producer responsibility asked from Europe, then how can I as a brand take more responsibility of the waste generated, not only on the sales side, but also on the production side? And how can I ensure that the waste is not getting landfilled or incinerated, but rather used as a resource again? Either, like, ideally in textile to textile recycling, but even if it's products like carpets or isolation panels, that's better than incineration or landfill. So it's one angle is from that waste management side, to understand what's going on. There we help to create transparency around how much waste is generated and how that waste is managed and how much of that is actually getting recycled. And the other is more advanced and larger brands are very excited to also look at strategically, can I use my fiber or can I use waste fiber as a resource for my production again? And really look at closing the loop, but not so much between individual organizations, but more systemically using fiber as a resource for yarn production, for fabric production, and securing access to the feedstock that textile to textile recyclers are asking. And that's where often those new recyclers who are entering the market, like initially it was Renewcell, now Circulose, Syra, Ambercycle, Circ, all those new recyclers, they work with brands and they ask, how can I get access to waste? And there, the whole trading of waste today is like it's built on informal sector where there's no transparency and understanding of how to get access to the waste with full story of where it came from and what does it contain. It's difficult to plan how much there is and where can I like, for example, if a recycler wants to set up a new plant, they need to go to the bank to say that I have access to let's say 5,000 tons of textile waste per month. And I know that I can get that with a certain price, but there is no guarantee from the market right now. So the investments get stalled because the waste management is not transparent enough to plan for recycling. So first of all, starting to create data, information movement, market insight, that has been the first thing we have helped the industry with very systemically. Secondly, getting the waste from the cutting table to the recycling in a shortest possible route, working with the trading sector, with waste handlers to help sustain the highest possible quality of the waste, and making sure that that the processes are most efficient and transparent, both in the planning but also in the operational transactional level, and that the waste handling sector steps up the game to meet the requirements from the global fashion industry, because they are now becoming the formal part of the supply chain. So there is a lot of impact we're creating for the trading sector in terms of strengthening the business case for waste management and trading, and thereby, like, very shortly, the main value we are creating is feasibility, like standardizing processes, optimizing the routes, the movement of waste, and bringing down the cost of waste management, and also at the same time increasing the quality of the waste. So it's been like a win-win business case actually for everybody.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing your so many success story with us. So the next question, you have implemented programs in markets such as Bangladesh and India. What key challenges and opportunities have you observed in these major manufacturing hubs?
There is a similarity around the informal sector of waste management. And this is not really related to country specifically. It is related to the shift from linear to circular economy. When we think about linear economy, looking at waste as something that is always a cost, you always have to get rid of it, then it's prone to corruption. Like, if you can push down the cost by hiding the problem away, then you are economically benefiting from it. So waste management in the linear economy there is always corruption. Doesn't matter which country you look at. Same for Asia, same for Europe, same for the whole world. Waste management is corrupt. So now, when we should look at circular economy, waste becomes a new resource. It becomes part of the formal economy, and the resource starts to have monetary value, and the value starts to grow. So it's actually becoming, that's why it's actually easy to talk about it as a formal business, where corruption doesn't have a place anymore, because you benefit more as a business if you do things in a transparent way, because there is no economic reason to hide the problem away anymore. Do you follow? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Anyway, coming back to your question about Bangladesh and India and other countries, we see a lot of similarities in the problem that we are looking at, and working in different countries has given us a chance to compare countries and how the same problem emerges slightly in a different version, and what is the systemic solution to the same economic problem, and implement that into different countries in a similar way, which is the core of the scalable solution.
Recycling is often presented as the primary solution to fashion waste. In your view, is recycling enough, or should the industry focus more on reducing overall production and consumption?
I would take this apart from the angle that we as people, we like abundance. We don't want to limit ourselves. We are used to, the fast fashion has given us the abundance of choice of clothing. We can't solve the problem by telling people that you have to stop buying clothes and stop expressing yourself. So the abundance of choice has been there, and that's what people ask for, and that's what we can actually provide by reuse and secondary sales of garments. I get tired of my clothes, somebody else wears the same piece of clothing and is super excited about it. And the choice of clothing, like, we don't have to produce new clothes. We can reuse and redistribute the same clothes and create the feeling of abundance. So this is also a change in consumption patterns, to shift from new products to secondhand sales. And that's a big shift that is already happening. But there is always waste coming out of the system, because clothes wear off. There is they break down, and so on. So the circular system cannot function if we don't take the recycling as part of that reuse system, because otherwise we continuously have a cost element that has no monetary mechanism to be paid off. So recycling has to be there, because otherwise also the reuse pattern breaks down. The economics breaks down, because somebody has to bear the cost. And we can then take the recycling route and turn that also into a profitable business, and use the fiber in first product, in the next product, in the next product. So circular economy for me is all about how many times can you make money from the same piece, the same fiber. So this is what OECD started to talk about it in 2000s as decoupling. The economy we typically measure in GDP growing or revenue growing, but we don't typically measure how much resources put into that economics. So today, GDP grows and resource use grows just the same. But now if we start reusing and recycling, GDP can grow, but the use of resource can start going down. And this is called decoupling, when those lines start to go apart. This is what the true meaning of circular economy is for me. How much more money can you make from the same resource, from the same fiber? How many times can you resell the same t-shirt over and over and make more money from the same t-shirt while not destroying the fiber or the product?